Hi guys. So today we're going to do a quick update on the seed farm. You may remember that I have a lot of pots that have biannuals planted in them. This one has Daikon Radish in them, and I'm letting them go to seed, and I'll leave them alone and see if they come back next year. These Daikon Radish I actually transplanted from another area in my garden, and they are starting to go to seed. So I wanted to show you what that looks like and a really cool thing about this. So here is one that is going to seed, but you can see it's still green, right? And when it's in this green pod state, you can actually put you down flat somewhere. That would be awesome, wouldn't it? Hold on. There we go. You can actually eat this like a pea pod, any kind of a pea pod. So you could put it into a stir fry. It's got a little green, tiny little green bean in there, but you can use the pod and all and just throw it into whatever it is you're cooking. At this state, it's still nice and it's crunchy. It has a very mild radish flavor. The radish plant, you can also eat the leaves like a green. So not only can you eat the radish itself, this is a daikon, so it's going to be a big, huge white radish. You can eat the pods, and you can eat the leaves. And the same is true for red radish, red globe radish, etc. Now this one I have planted on one side of my house, because it's the Daikon radish. The red globe radish I have planted in a pot on the other side of my house because these two can cross. And if they cross, then I'll get some kind of strange Daikon red radish combination, which I don't want because I'm trying to save true seed. So here is a pod that is beginning to dry. It's still super flexible, so it's not drying yet. When it really is dry, I won't be able to do this. It will just break apart, but it'll just snap, you know, like a dry twig. But there's no seed in that one. And there's maybe a seed in here. Let's take a look. Alright, so I broke this open and you can see there are some 4 or 5, let's see if you can see that, there's 4 or 5 brown seeds in there. They're kind of small. Let's put some in my hand. Here, jumpers. So you can see several seeds right there. So it looks like the daikon is going well. Definitely producing seeds for this year. We'll come back later, get some of these pods, and we'll eat them at dinner tonight. But hey, let's go check some other plants. Just while we're here, the beans, the runner beans in the pots are doing really well. They're starting to finally climb up the fence, which is what I want. They have these brilliant red flowers. It's just going to be gorgeous. Hopefully they'll just fill in that whole area. So I have my little seed farm over here on the other side of the blueberries, and can you see? Look how gorgeous. Gorgeous. So far the Mexican Fiesta flags that are flapping around out here have been working and have been keeping the birds at bay, but we shall see. And look at that clematis. Isn't that gorgeous? So much rain this year. Blueberries are coming on like gangbusters. Some are thinking about getting ripe. Oh, so wonderful. All right. And here we've got those blueberries that I propagated from last year. So I have 1, 2, 3, and 4 plants in here. The other ones didn't make it because we had that stupid ice storm. But this one even has a few berries on it. And this propagation, this cloning, came from my big producer with the best berries over here. So that'll be very exciting. I will take those and plant them in here. But that's not why we're here. All right. So here is part of the rest of the seed farm. And what we have here is carrot. And the carrots are beginning to think about flowering, and that's where the seeds will be. So that's happening right on time. That's beautiful. Here are my beets. They are coming to a flowering stage. They're going to flower, so I'm going to get seed from that. You can see there's pollen everywhere in here, which is doing the allergy thing, but look at that, how much pollen. Ugh. All right, and then what do we have here? Kale. Kale is more like a mustard seed. It comes in these, the seeds come in these tall, skinny, well, I guess they're pods too. You can also eat these, put them in stir fries, etc. They're a little more powerful and pungent tasting, so, you know, start with a few and then add more in. Mustard seed is the same way as is broccoli and cauliflower, but we'll look at some mustard seed that is actually already dried here in a minute. Cabbage. So my cabbage is coming on, it's coming strong, it's getting a little too much sun, but I'm just using this for seeds, so we shall seed. All right, very funny. All right, my Swiss chard I have all over the yard. It is seeding in other areas. This is year one for the Swiss chard and year one for this cabbage, so at the end of the season they may or may not go to seed, we'll see. Celery. I transplanted the celery from the big garden. It was very mature and it's not doing very, very well. However, it is going to seed. So once these flowers have done flowering, we shall have seed, and we'll take a look at that when that time is right. Here's my onion farm, my onion seed farm that has been giving me onion seed for about 5 years now. So you can see some of the onion heads here are growing up, and they're beginning to think about flowering. So that's really on track. So let's go look at some mustard, and we'll go over and look at that other radish. Kind of a fun stop on the way. My poppies are all headed out. So those are going to seed. Let them dry in place, and then the seeds are all inside. And through some little holes that will appear up there, we'll be able to cut this pod off, turn it and shake it like a salt and pepper shaker. That will work really well. Over here I have some mustard green that just came up on its own, so I must have had some in this bed recently. And I just left it because it was the first thing that was flowering in my yard. Now I realize I have approximately 5 trillion seeds, of which is extremely very cool. And let's see, get you some flat place here. I need to work on that. So you'll see that each one of these pods, skinny pods, you know, it's one of the brachias. They all have the same kind of long, skinny pod. Some of them, like this one, has already broken open and released its seeds. There was one right there onto the ground. So next year in this area, right in here, I suspect I shall have a bazillion mustard seeds. But let's see if we can find one that we can open together. So this is kind of a yellow one. Well, let me take this one that's partially open. So the mustard seed, I do have another video on this, but it's a round pod, right? And in between each half of the pod, there's like this layer of almost papery material. And there are seeds on both sides of that. And they're small and brown. And that one wasn't a great example. Here, let me get set up. Alright, so I have one of the pods here that's actually come open. So there were seeds on the top, but if we kind of move this material up and out of the way, you'll see brown seeds were on the back side of it. Hard to see. I'm not doing a very good job of this, am I? Let's just open this one up and see. So you can see mustard seeds right there. All these. Now they're not, these ones aren't quite ripe yet, but that's okay. We won't gather them yet. We'll wait till they turn brown, and I like to leave them on the bush to turn brown. Are these the same kind of mustard seeds that you are buying in the grocery store to make mustard with? We have a video on that. I'll link that. And to use, you know, in your pickling spices, etc. And the answer is yes, it is. So you can just grow one plant. Again, this was one plant. You can see tons and tons of seeds. and you will never have to buy mustard seed again. It's nice when you can buy spices or buy a plant that will give you spices and not have to worry about them again. The same is true for the celery seed. The same will be true for dill when we plant the dill, and for coriander, which is the seed from cilantro. All of those you can use in your cooking. If you can eat the plant, you can eat the seed. All right, so let's go on and look at that last radish. All right, big garden. Here's the chard, some more foxglove. Here's a lot of tomatoes that are starting themselves. I was talking with my friend Anthony from Palmetto Prepared and telling him I planted a bunch of tomatoes in here just like along that blue string, and some over here and some in my fertilizer test gardens. But look at all the volunteers I'm getting up, and I did that to myself on purpose because last year at the end of the season I had too many tomatoes, so I just started burying them. Well, guess what? They're growing everywhere. All right, again, here is some Swiss chard, and it's going to seed, so again I'll have approximately 1 gazillion seeds. All right, but that's not why we're here. We're gonna go over here. Look at our potatoes, the kale and cabbages, all my different squash, my pumpkins, patty pan, zucchini, Hubbard, etc. All right, looks familiar, doesn't it? Let's get you set up. All right, so again, this plant was one that had been growing in a different area of the house, and I pulled up some of the radishes that had overwintered, and I planted into this pot, which needs some water. But you can see a lot of the seeds are already starting to dry, but we do still have a lot of green ones, which pluck them off and eat them, right? That's great, great food for you. And again, you can eat the leaves on this, you can eat the pods. If Uncle Alan's watching, I'm sure Uncle Alan has, I don't know, 1,000,000 recipes as well on how to process things like this. Eat every part of the plant. All right, let's look at a dry pod. Maybe we can actually see some seeds since this one seems further along. All right, I'm opening it up with my thumb. I can tell that this is not exactly dry yet, but look at the size of this seed compared to the other ones we were looking at. Now that's a large seed. Right, comparatively. That's a gripper. What do they call that when it's gold? I don't know, a nugget, but you know what I mean. It's one you can pick up with your fingers. Here's another seed in the same pod. I don't know, they have like 4 to 7 seeds per pod. Another seed right there. So we're not going to be hurting for, hi Sarah, for seeds with our radishes and daikon, our red radish and daikon. So that's my seed update, my little seed farm update. I think the having things go to seed this year is not going to be the issue. What's going to be the issue is next year making sure nothing is crossed and seeing if the seeds are viable. They should be. Everything's all heritage or open pollinated. But we'll see, right? It's an experiment. We'll see if the things last the winter and come back. So here's some of those beans that were growing on that back fence, and I told you they have that beautiful red flower. Isn't that gorgeous? So it's going to be all along that back fence, hopefully, maybe. I had some old dried seeds that were partially moldy, and I just threw them in this little Ruth Stout garden here. It's a little test I've got going on. And I thought, oh, they'll just die in there. They won't grow. Well, guess what? They grew. Some of them grew. And I've got some potatoes, same kind of a deal. Potatoes weren't doing really well, so they were kind of punky or maybe a little moldy. I put them over here and they grew. Some more of those same beans, more potatoes. And we got a dog that likes to eat grass. She's always eating grass. She likes her greens. And then more Swiss chard. And then we have, that's a beet, Swiss chard. Cabbage that's getting eaten alive, but that's okay. I have this as a sacrificial plant on the edges here, so hopefully the slugs will come in and eat, you know, from wherever over here on these plants and not get deeper into the garden. But anyway, a long video for our little seed update, and our next urine as fertilizer update is coming up here probably in the next video, so stay tuned for that. Plants seem to be growing. So far so good. Anyway, yeah, let me know if you have any questions. But wait, there's more. There's always more. Have you ever noticed that I end a video and almost always I have more for you guys? This is a wild green. This is a wild mustard green. They come from the field I have next door. Let me show it to you. So I've got this gigantic field over here. Big, huge oak trees. Goes all the way over to, well, I've got neighbors over there and over there. But we have so much wild greens in here, and the seeds blow into me, that I don't even plant greens very much anymore. I only, mustard greens specifically, because I know how to identify them, and I just come out to the field to pick them and eat them. So within here somewhere, there's going to be a whole lot of seed, but this particular plant over here must have just blown in from over there. Or perhaps even more likely, I went over to the field through that gate and I picked greens. I came back over here, and you know when you pick something from wherever you're kind of, let's just say you have this and you're kind of just, you know, trimming as you go. Oh, that's bad, and you just toss them, because I'm a big tosser of things. I'm a tosser. Stop. Don't go there. Alright, so it probably ended up because of my own habit of throwing things to let them compost in place. But you know what? More seed. More food. This is seed I can share. This is seed I can make into condiments. This is seed for spices. This is food that we can eat, you know, as a green. So who loses? Nobody loses. And as you can tell with each one of these, with 1,000 seeds per plant, 10,000 seeds perhaps, I don't know. That's a lot of seeds. So anyway, keep your eyes open, you guys. Learn how to identify your local foods as well. I also videotaped myself going to collect some of these wild greens, I think last year from that very field, so I'll link that below too. Anyway, there you have it.